That's probably a more appropriate thing to do.
We're just waiting for Mary Ellen as soon as she gives us the get going.
Hey, can I ask Monique a question, please?
Yeah, give her.
Are we still meeting this month for IEDC?
Hi, Councillor Waring. Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, just when I was going to comment on the Harry Potter glasses that Corinne had, and you just started. I like them, Corinne. They look good. Okay, here we go. I'm going to just scroll back here.
I can't
Again,
see
guys,
anything without them, so
right?
not up close anyway.
Yeah. Again, I'm scrolling on my phone here, so give me some patience if you've got your hand up. I will be scrolling from right to left. We've got some admin here as well. So, with that being said, we are going to reconvene our public meeting at 6:32, October 4th, 2021, a regular business council meeting, and just so happens to be the last regular council meeting of the 2017 to 2021 council term. And this will be our last official regular business meeting for Councillors Wilkie and Hamilton. Everyone else is up for re-election, but they have not submitted their papers, and we definitely will miss them. So just wanted to mention that again. We started our meeting today at 5 o'clock with a closed session for FOIP issues 16 and 24, sections 16 and 24. We recessed out of that at 10 to 6 or 5:50, and now we are back again. So we adopted the agenda with one addition, and I believe it was 13.4, something along that nature. It'll be
15.
Brought up when the time comes. 15.4, you on the new business?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right, 15.4. And that's a notice of motion by Councillor Wilkie. So when we get there, if you're following along, you'll see it. And with that, can I get a motion to reconvene? I believe I do need one. Rab.
No, I don't think so, do you?
No? Am I good? Are we good?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, yeah, because we're just coming out of recess. Sorry. I think I'll do this for the rest of my life. Okay. So we have no motions arising from closed. Can I get 6.1 adoption of the previous minutes of September 20th, 2021? I'll put my iPad over here so I don't have to look away so often. Okay. Adoption of minutes. Don't everybody jump. I see jumpers.
I see Ms. Brown has her hand up here. She may have.
Miss Brown.
You guys hear
I'm
me?
scrolling. Do tell, Miss Brown.
No.
No. Wilkie, you spoke. Does that mean you'd like to adopt the minutes of September 20th under 6.1, regular minutes?
Was there a change?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, if I might, before you get to that motion.
Absolutely.
Lisa's having audio difficulties.
Okay.
I think it's just the way to keep her from talking, honestly. But the minutes that were put out in the agenda package had a small error, so that error has been corrected. And that is item 12.2, and that was Councillor Wilkie's motion.
Wayfinding signage.
Correct.
Okay. 12.2.
Yes, and I'll read you the update since she can't get on the mic. So it was moved by Councillor Wilkie, and this is Resolution 21092006. Moved by Councillor Wilkie that Council direct administration to approach our local First Nations communities to discuss their willingness to share knowledge with our Council regarding their traditional uses of lands in the Turner Valley area and regarding their potential collaboration to name the new park being open south of Sheep River. And so what you saw was recorded at the meeting. Councillor Wilkie had actually formalized that and sent us the type version, and that's where they changed.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. Cindy, go ahead.
Yeah, I can make the motion to accept, but I had an issue with 16.2 resolution. It was my resolution about the privatization of Alberta land titles. I think the intent of that was to work with Black Diamond, and that didn't get put in the resolution, and it kind of changes the meaning because I didn't want us to just send letters. I wanted us to work with Black Diamond since it was their original letter, to throw our support behind them. So I think it's important that it gets put in there that I'm directing administration to work with Black Diamond. So.
Correct. We'll send a letter like these AMA to encourage all this regarding privatization. Okay.
Yeah, it was part of the discussion. It just got missed in the write-up.
In terms of how we, the intent. So would you like to just clarify that right now so we can make that addition?
Yeah. So it should read, moved by Councillor Cindy Holiday that Council directs administration to work with Black Diamond in sending letters to other communities and AUMA regarding concern regarding the privatization of land titles. Okay,
perfect. Mr. Patience, have you got that simple addition, please?
Yes, we do.
And if there's any councillor who disagrees with the intent of that motion from the minutes, speak up now because that was how it was. Councillor Rabb?
On the contrary, I want to support to Councillor Holiday to say that's exactly what we discussed. We're going to deal with Black Diamond. So just got missed. So, you know, I very much support what Councillor Holiday says. That's a very important amendment.
Okay, excellent. Good. Seeing no one else. Good.
I'll give you the motion to accept as amended.
Thank you. All in favor? And that is carried. Unanimous. Thank you. All right. Backing up. Question period. At the beginning of every business meeting, we have a 15-minute section time that is dedicated for the public to ask questions of administration or council for questions of clarity or general curiosity. Mr. Patience, have we received any questions today?
No, we have not, Mr. Mayor.
I did receive one from a Maureen Nelson. And it was just a quick one because Sunset is now done. She wanted to know if garbage pickup on Sunset will be in the alleys or will it move to the front now?
Yeah, I would ask Mr. Beltran if he would respond to that question since I have him online.
A notice will be put out tomorrow or Wednesday advising residents that are affected by the traffic detour and Sunset construction that garbage pickup will resume as it used to in the past on the next garbage day, which is the 12th of October.
Okay, so tomorrow then everyone is still in the alley?
Well, yes. Yes.
Okay, I'll put that on Facebook afterward. Okay, thank you. Council, has anyone else got an easy, slow, lobbing, underhand softball pitch for Mr. Patience to hit out of the ballpark, utilizing his administrative staff for questions? None? Scrolling, seeing none. We will move on from question period. Thank you. One other question, sorry. Advanced polls. I saw a date of October 7th. Do we have an advanced poll? And time and date, please.
Is your volume up?
No. Yes, there's an advanced poll.
Yeah, I'm playing interpreter translator here, so
yeah, sure.
I will pass this on from Ms. Brown. Yes, there is an advanced poll. October 7th, 10 till 4 in council chambers. Masks are required. And is there one the week after as well?
14th.
On the 14th?
Yeah, same deal.
So, yeah. 7th and 14th, 10 to 4 in council chambers. No, pardon me. 7th, 10 to 4 in council chambers. 14th, 1 to 8 in council chambers. Masks are required. Social distancing is in effect.
Perfect.
It has been posted on Facebook, so I'm surprised you didn't know.
I just want to make sure so that everyone is getting the same information.
Perfect. And it is on our website as well.
Beautiful. Okay. All right. Moving on from question period. Statutory hearings, we have none. And delegations, we have none. We have 10.1, the Chief Administrative Officer's report. Mr. Patience, you have the floor.
Yeah, so normally I would give you a written report, but I had to have a number of my management staff with us tonight for various topics that are on the agenda. And seeing as how it is your last council meeting, I thought maybe we'd throw you a little lolly for a change, and I would have some of my managers just give a brief update personally on their departments. And this is not all of them, but before we did, I just wanted to, suggest to you, since this is our last regular meeting, that it's been a pleasure working with all of you. And I know, Mr. Mayor, you're going to be returning to us. Councillor Hamilton and Wilkie, who we know are not, it has been very enjoyable. It's been a privilege for me to work with both of you. And to those of you running, I wish you all the best. And I have to be very objective in this, but I certainly wish you well in your re-election campaigns, and appreciate the confidence you've put in myself and in our staff. Even though this has been a challenging year on a number of fronts, there's certainly a lot of light at the end of that tunnel. So thank you for that. So with that, I thought I would just have not all of our management staff, but at least 4 of them that are joining us, give a brief update of their departments, what's going on, and maybe what's a little ahead. So I know one of the hot burning topics is Sunset, and while we haven't got all the final numbers in yet, I will ask Richard to maybe just give us an update, since that project is coming near an end, and I'm pretty sure that will make everybody happy along many of the detour routes in the municipality. So Richard, if you would.
Thanks, Sean. So Sunset paving was completed on Saturday. The traffic detour was taken down, or is mostly taken down today. There's a few pieces of equipment still lying around, but they should be picked up by Wednesday. There's a few things that still need to be completed, such as line painting and landscaping and removal of the chain link fence. We're still waiting to receive the final progress claim from Shawnee. And yeah, basically we're done.
Nice. Questions? It's nice and simple, eh, Richard? Just, we're done. Hamilton, go ahead.
Thanks, Richard, for the update. I'm sure everybody's so excited that project is wrapped up. I just wanted to ask a quick question. You might not know it yet because I'm sure invoices aren't all in, but I'm just wondering if you've got an update on costs, on where we're going to come in on budget, under budget, over budget. If you've got any inklings for us, that would be great.
We're going to be a little over budget, but the final numbers haven't come in, so I don't want to comment yet.
Okay. I have one question on Gooding Lane. I know we ran into a little bit of a hiccup. Never heard that it became a big issue, so I'm assuming that they came up with a solution to their bump in the road, as it were. Did that all work out no problem?
Just to clarify, the issue you were talking about is that you heard of.
No, sorry. Maybe I can add some light to that. That we had ran into some unknown underground piping that was having an issue with our storm extension.
Yes, there was. We encountered during the excavation a steel pipe that crossed the proposed storm line, and it happened to be at the same elevation. Being so late in the year, we didn't have time to explore. We don't know if the line is abandoned or live. We don't know what it is. We did contact the Shallows, ATCO specifically, and they had no comment. So we made a decision to finish off what we could, still achieving proper drainage collection in the alley. Just the storm line was not extended as far as we would have liked it to.
Right. Okay. All right. Any other questions for Richard, guys? Scrolling.
Councillor Wilkie.
Wilkie, go ahead. Yeah, I was just going to say thanks. It was a monumental project. I understand that, and understand that everybody was a little shorthanded this summer, and obviously we're working through a lot of challenges. But on a major project like that to be done, I'm going to call this within spitting distance of when we expected to be done it. So I think that's an achievement in itself, and it looks fantastic. And I'm looking forward to hopefully that has an impact on our infrastructure going forward. And it's just nice to get a major project out of the way like that. So nice work to you and your team, and to everybody on the contract side too, Richard. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll let everyone know.
Yeah, looks great. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Gordon.
Yeah, thanks so much for heading this project up and providing oversight. I do have a question regarding the camera imaging that we saw of the old utilities that were in place there. As this was all removed, were those serious issues found to be the major issue? And I guess the reason I'm asking is we were presented this within weeks of first being elected back in 2017, and then we delayed, and then it brought back to us. So I really want to make sure that when we're doing these infrastructure projects, especially when we have such pressure put on us, that after the work has been done during the excavation, did we find these issues, and was this the right time to get it done?
So to answer your question about the issues, we should have an indication when we start collecting flow data from West End. We should have a significant reduction in groundwater contribution to the sanitary system. With respect to is this the right time, I think it worked out in our favor. We were aiming to go for tender early in 2021 to try and receive the best price before contractors started getting their schedule set. And I've never been through a pandemic, but it looked like COVID worked in our favor by reducing the construction costs because contractors were hungry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we could have got a better price. I don't think we'll get a better price next year.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Thank you. And scrolling. And Waring, go ahead.
I'm sure Mr. Rabb will second this, but one of the problems with the West End line is the build-up of H2S. And one of the ways to reduce the build-up of H2S is to put more water down the line, not less. So if it is indeed a decrease in the amount of groundwater that's coming into that line, we're going to have an additional cost for chemicals, I guess.
Add it to her, yeah. Okay. All right, thank you. Who's up next, Mr. Patience? Thank you, Richard. And Sunset does look absolutely fantastic. If I was a skateboarder, which I am not, I would lose $1 million bet if I had to skateboard 10 feet. But if I was, I would be inclined to start at the top of that hill and go all the way to the bottom. But I wouldn't make it 10 feet. But if I could, I would.
I would agree that kids have already tried or going to try.
I'm sure they have. Okay. Mr. Patience, go ahead.
Councillor Hamilton did have her hand up. Just
go ahead, Lana. Where are
No,
you?
I'm good. I was just going to rebuttal John Waring, but by saying that another cause of H2S is sewage sitting in lines and not traveling to its required destination. So, the new line being solid could help that.
Yeah, but it has to be pumped to the destination, and it only gets pumped every so often. So that's not going to change.
Guess we'll see.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
John's glass is half empty.
But not my wine glass.
Mr. Beaton, would you like to give us a quick update on what's going on in operation?
Thank you. So operations is going pretty smoothly. We've had an interesting and challenging year with COVID and shortage of supplies and parts and equipment. But all in all, we're just about finished the parking lot for the river access on DeKalta. We're nearing the final steps. The final stage will be hydroseeding, probably mid-October. Robert Street Trail down to Okalta, that's complete, with the exception of some cloth and some hydroseed as well. So we are doing some bank stabilization there to make sure that bank doesn't slough down onto the trail, but otherwise that's almost complete. We are anticipating, we are ready for snow. All our equipment is prepped and ready to go, and not much else to report. It's been status quo. It's been pretty good. So, pool, spray park, campground, all now closed. And we'll be doing a lot of leaf cleanouts for the storm system so that we don't have any blockages or plugging up. So otherwise, we're all good.
Good.
Excellent. Questions from council. Deputy Mayor Gordon.
Yeah, thanks for the work done, Mr. Beaton, and I appreciate the ability to put in that parking lot down by the river access there for the park yet to be named. I do have a question regarding the operations of the sidewalk replacement that is done. I noticed they did some up in Country Meadows within the last couple of weeks. Do you have a report on that? Did we meet budget on that? Did we get a little bit more done than we thought, or where were we at on sidewalk replacement?
Great question. Sidewalk replacement's all finished, and we always meet budget on that. We're not over budget, and so our process on sidewalks is every spring we inspect all our sidewalks through the community, and we grade them based on severity. And we select those portions of sidewalk that are cracked, unlevel, more hazardous to the pedestrian, and we just select those and try and fit them within our budget. So that's how we do our sidewalks every year.
Okay, if I may have a follow-up on that, is there a way in which we are able to receive concerns from residents about their sidewalks, and whether or not those do they fit the formula, or do we take that into play a little bit more when residents bring those concerns forward?
Absolutely. So yes, residents often call in and have will share concerns with their particular portions of sidewalk or areas of sidewalk that they've noticed. And often they're already on our radar, or if they're not, we will assess them. And if they are within the criteria and priority listing for our replacement, then we will absolutely go ahead and replace. But as you can well imagine, there's a lot of sidewalk, and frost, heave, cracks. We do have a priority, and we will try and fit those all within each season. So I can't guarantee each season that all repairs will be made, but certainly the most critical ones will be.
Okay, thank you. That's something that I want to bring up again next budget cycle. as well. So we'll be talking about more investment into pedestrian safety. But any other council? I'm scrolling here. Wilkie, go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, Craig, the Robert Street and the new park look great so far. I definitely didn't, just wander in there before it's all finished. But hypothetically, they definitely look great. So thank you to your team for your awesome work down there. Some of the stuff down on the riverside is such great little area in there to have a couple of winding trails. So it's fantastic. One question for you, though, was on the pool and spray park. Historically, we've had issues with the spray park going down, and this year it just didn't seem like there was a lot of that. Did you see more reliable operations of the spray park this year, or was it just that it's becoming old hat and you guys are able to get it fixed up faster these times around, or are we noticing more reliable performance out of the spray park?
Yeah, so we have actively been making some changes, repairs, actively updating some of the equipment that needed to be repaired or replaced or updated. And so we've managed to work out most of those bugs, and we've also trained some staff that are able to be more responsive to the preventative maintenance aspect of that spray park. So,
Perfect. Thank you.
yeah, we've been on top of things. It's not that we didn't have issues. We were just able to respond to them a little bit more quickly and appropriately.
I didn't have to take screaming children home who were so excited to go to the spray park this year. So that is my indicator. So, but it's not scientific. So
yeah, and that's our absolute goal every year is to limit the number of crying children, not screaming. Screaming is not always bad.
Yeah, I hear it's the best spray park in the world, but I'm a little biased. That's fantastic. Any other questions for Mr. Beaton? Scrolling. I just got to get down to Lana. And nope, she's good. Okay, thank you, Mr. Beaton. Appreciate all the work you guys are putting in, and look forward to more. Okay, who's up next, Mr. Patience?
Ms. LeBlanc, if you would fill us in a little bit on community services, what's going on, and what are hot button items right at the moment?
Certainly. Thank you, CAO Patience. Can everybody hear me clearly this evening? Let's start with that. Awesome. Little different background, better internet at the office. So thank you for your patience in the past. I would like to echo what CAO Patience has said previously, and to thank Councillors Wilkie and Hamilton for your great guidance and support over the last 4 years. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you, and best to all the other councillors in your re-election bids. Moving along to community services, there's been a lot going on. And the first that was most evident that we really had to adjust to were so many staff changes. And we've always worked well as a team in Turner Valley, and it certainly forced us to become a lot more creative. We've always strived for great efficiencies, but even more so in this case. So we've been tag teaming it everywhere that we can, and it's worked out quite well. So I'm happy to report that there have been very few stalls in any of the projects. There have been a few pauses, but we are back on track. And pleased to announce that we've hired 2 new staff people to take over term positions for the position of Community Peace Officer. We have Simon Boardley. Hopefully you've had a chance to meet him by this point. And also on Friday, we're welcoming Larry Shelkey, who will be our new Animal Control Pound Attendant. So we are really looking forward to both of them being part of that team that I was talking about. In terms of the adjustments that we've had to make, COVID has probably most dramatically affected everything from events to the hall. So as you likely have read and are familiar with by now, is that we do have new health measures that are affecting how we move forward with some of these. and the hall itself is directly impacted. So we are currently considering but leaning very strongly towards doing everything that we can to accommodate the current users and organizers of events. And that means that we'll be implementing the restriction exemption program. We're just working through some details in the planning, all of the communication that has to go along with that, and the monitoring systems. We feel it's very doable, and that will allow groups such as Beneath the Arch that have up to 300 people per concert 6 times annually attend, as well as all of those very personal gatherings, social gatherings, weddings, and funerals. So the less impact we can have on other people's lives, the more we can support our residents, the better we feel about it as well. So we're going forward with that approach. Craig has already reported on the pool and the spray park. We've had a very successful year. I'm just crunching the numbers, but it is looking that we're doing well and on track as far as budget is concerned. I'm just pulling together the statistics, but in general, I'm pleased to say that we were able to, considering it was a shortened season, be able to provide a full slate of lessons and programs with hardly missing a beat. And we were able to go the full season straight into September long weekend. So we really appreciate the efforts that the staff made, certainly our own staff that helped support the facility. Craig and his crew were absolutely outstanding, and we virtually had zero downtime other than weather related. So we're pretty happy about that. And I think the residents, from the positive feedback that we've received, are really happy with the online booking and payment system. They were really pleased with the quality of the programming and the lessons and the lifeguards. And those that wanted to work locally, that were locals, were all hired, and they've also been offered part-time jobs going forward in Okotoks. So really, we kind of hit the mark on all of those that we were aiming for. But as I say, I don't have the final numbers as yet. It is looking like it's positive, though. The campground also, while it's closed, we actually had a really good year, and it's been the most revenue that we have collected in a number of years. So we we continued, I should say, with the campground host. And with that, we just were able to capture more campers. It seemed to be a pretty good year for it. The weather, although the smoke and the heat were at times certainly deterrents, we nevertheless found that our numbers were increasing. And with somebody on the ground taking care of things, on a many times daily basis, it just seemed to really help to provide that additional service that we were hoping for. So outstanding job there, and have to give kudos to Kim Ellingson, who managed that this year. She did a great job. The communications has been one of the other areas where it's always a busy time. There's lots going on. We tried our best to try and keep up and to stay ahead of the curve. And that one, there's always some room for improvement, but I think overall it has certainly increased, and the quality, I hope, continues to be fairly high. The newsletter is continuing with the mayor's message, and of course we had a huge amount of time spent on communicating amalgamation discussions in the process. So I just see that will continue to increase. It's always been part of our strategic priorities that we ensure that council's messages are not only broadcast and communicated, but that there's also a two-way an opportunity for residents to be able to provide feedback. So that's been accomplished and will continue to just grow from here. Finally, the FCSS. It's a call for application time coming up soon. This is where 5 of the regional partners have pulled together for one common application, and then it goes out to the public. And therefore, again, a great show of collaboration and efficiencies is that the agencies wishing to apply only are required to apply to fill out an application once, and then it can just be distributed to the 5 FCSSs. So we continue to collaborate on that side, and it seems to be going forward, and hopefully no glitches at this point, but we'll see what happens. We haven't had an increase in 3 years. I doubt that there will be one coming through from the province, and it's just the provincial grant funding that I'm talking about. So that's just the highlights. I'll entertain any questions.
Excellent. Thank you. I have the Deputy Mayor Gordon up first. Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, thanks, Monique. I appreciate that. And I don't know about the rest of council, but I'm kind of happy I haven't met our CPO yet. But hopefully I'll get a chance to meet him out and about and not for any specific purpose. But the question I have for you, Monique, is back in 2017, when we came on council, we were presented with a business case to support putting in a campground down near the Riverside Park with full service and whatnot. So I'm wondering, with the feedback that, is there a survey feedback we get with those who use a campground, what they would like to see? I'm pleased to hear that, and I even see this last weekend, people are still using it. So an increase in revenue, but is there some kind of a survey that we do, and those who have used a campground, do they give us any feedback on what they'd like to see?
Through the mayor, yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Gordon. There is, but it's more anecdotal. It's in conversation, and the odd time that there's some comments made on the envelope, the payment card that is submitted. And we definitely hear loudly about an expansion of the services that are currently there. We have electricity, but no water at the moment, or sewer. And those are expensive utilities to be able to install. So it is for consideration, and possibly even taking a look at what the costing would be, but not sure where to go with that. It's just going to be taken into consideration. The other one is an online booking system and online payment. That's been a struggle in the past because of the lack of somebody on site daily. Well, they're there daily, but on a regular basis, it's very difficult to be able to go through it. But we are considering it and hopefully looking at some kind of a hybrid for 2022. In terms of expansion or relocation, those discussions were stalled because if you recall in the business case, it didn't rank particularly high. And part of it was still developed into a park called Riverside Park, and that extended off into the Toboggan Hill and a number of really great amenities for residents and visitors, but not to the point of any kind of day camp.
Sorry, I had my mic off there. I said I'm just scrolling back and forth. Thank you, Monique, for that. I will say that our new CPO has an extensive background, and he's a heck of a soccer player. He's been out seen with the kids several times a week after school, monitoring the school zone, and he gets out and plays some soccer with the kids. So it's great to see him being a community contributor and getting out there and enjoying the kids just as well, and meeting the parents. So it's really good to see that happening again. I know our lack of coverage has been a while. So, okay. Mr. Patience, next up.
Last but certainly not least is Miss Middleton, and she can give us a brief update on what's going on in corporate and financial services.
So I'm going to, in the interest of time, I'm going to make mine really quick, but thank you, CAO Patience, and thank you to Council for your support over the last 3 years. It's been just over 3 years since I arrived, so I appreciate that. Good luck to those of you that are running again, and good luck to those that are moving on and just carrying on with their day jobs and not having a night job as well. So just to bring you up to speed with accounting, I mean, for us, it's everything numbers. So we're coming into the last quarter, and certainly there's lots of scrutiny, and we're looking to the end of the year to make sure that we can come in within our budgets for all of the groups. We, as both Monique and Craig discussed, the seasonal facilities, the transition over to fall and winter has taken place. And so now we're doing a look back certainly on those facilities and putting the numbers together to see how they fared for the summer. We have done some planning with our auditors. So we're getting ready for what year end may pose. We're doing interim in December, and we'll certainly have quarterly results. We're starting to work on those now. So some of you will certainly be actively involved in that process, and some of you will be actively involved by listening and watching. So so far the numbers are looking good for the end of the year, and we're pretty positive. The staff changeover that we've had, certainly in the accounting team with Iris coming on board and Natasha moving on, has been extremely positive. She's hit the ground running, and we've had no issues there. And so from there, we're doing some insurance work, looking at the valuations of our assets, and so trying to look at the capital information at the same time. So there's lots going on, but we are focused on everything numbers. Any questions?
That is awesome. Let me just scroll here. I'm seeing none there, and none there, and none there. I will say this, Miss Middleton. The last 4 years have been a pleasure working with you. And I know on behalf of all council, we know you went through a lot of battles, but in the finance department, no one's beating you. Like, nothing can destroy you. You're indestructible, and we really appreciate all the hard work you've done. We look forward to the next term working with you in detail again. So I think council is quite happy with all the work that you've done this year, and that's why there's no questions, and we're moving on with the agenda. Thank you, Corinne. Really appreciate it. All right. Mr. Patience, let me scroll up my agenda here. It died. All right. We're on to get a motion to accept Chief Administrative Officer's report. Even though it's verbal, we'll take it anyway. Rab, all in favor? Hands up. Boom. That's carried. Good. 10.2, Strategic Priorities Review 2021. This was something that we wanted to put on just as a little highlighter for council, just to speak to the strategic priorities that we set in 2018 and where we got to today. So if there's any burning desire to speak on anything from our strategic priorities document, which you have in front of you, I will take any bidders at this point. And I'm going to scroll first. All right, coming back. Councillor Gordon, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to take this time to thank administration for their work with council to make sure that these priorities were being accomplished and being reviewed. I think whenever, as I recall, different requests for decisions would come across the board, there was always reference back to the strategic priority that it reflected upon. And I really appreciate administration, the work that you did. And, being a first-term councillor, setting a strategic priority, we often want to aim for the moon, right? And try to bring it down to earth. But I really appreciate administration working with us. And I think we've accomplished quite a bit. And this report really highlights the different areas that we've seen tremendous growth in, and I want to thank administration for working with us through this last term.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Gordon. I will only highlight one as we're going to move on, and you all know that I think we've achieved excellence in governance, optimized service delivery and fiscal responsibility, community development, community management, and be a destination community were our 4 bullet headers. And we definitely hit on all of those notes. But if I had to pick one to say, what did we really knock out of the park? I'd have to go a little tiny tip of the hat to Ms. Monique LeBlanc for be a destination community. We ranked in the top 10 at number 7 out of 7 seasons of the CBC series Still Standing. And that really did an amazing job. Johnny Harris in that comedy show really did an amazing job at highlighting the history and the potential of Turner Valley. So if you haven't seen that, Mr. Patience, I highly suggest you punch that into your Google machine there and watch that episode. It was fantastic, and it really spoke to the entrepreneurship and the spirit of the people in our community, as well as the scenery and just the general feel of the history of Turner Valley. So that really nailed be a destination community, and I think we've got some great potentials coming down the road. Some announcements for the future council to have that are going to add to that destination community a little bit more. So stay tuned to the public on that. Okay, we're going to move on. Let me just scroll back here. Thank you. Can I get a motion, Deputy Mayor Gordon, for that one? For 10.2, Council Strategic Priorities Review. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. New window. All right. Administrative responses, 11. We have none. Is that correct, Mr. Patience? Okay.
Correct, Mr. Mayor.
Administrative inquiries. Anything we did have was done through an email, and it was quickly solved, so it wasn't really good enough to come up to the top here. Bylaws and policies. Council Remuneration and Reimbursement Policy MPE 0613. Council, you have this in front of you. Any questions on this document? We did have a few from our last meeting. I didn't write them down. Did we get clarity on those, Sean? What were they?
Yeah, so the policy that we put before you at the last meeting for review was the policy developed and approved in 2019. However, it had a COLA clause that had since been removed. And so when we brought the policy forward for review, it wasn't denoting the proper current remuneration. So this policy that you see in front of you now is not representative of an increase, but a representative of the remuneration that council currently achieves. Okay.
Excellent. Let me scroll here because I'm sure Waring will have his hand up. He does. I was right. Go ahead, Waring.
The only comment I have is we did say about rounding up those numbers, like, instead of 1,058 and 12 cents a month or whatever, just make it 1,058 or something. And the same with the mayor's 81 cents. Might make it a little easier for the administration.
Yeah.
That's completely up to council.
There's only one thing that I actually read through on this that I wanted to point out to council. Whether or not you did it, I don't know. I know I have had it for quite a while, but it's not something that one normally carries, and that's the $2 million liability on your vehicle insurance. Most people carry $1 million, and that's it. Anyone who carries kids for school sports like we do, you automatically have to get a $2 million. So guaranteed, Holiday and Hamilton and myself would probably have $2 million because of that. But otherwise, it's about $120 extra a year to carry a $2 million coverage. So that's an expense that's outlined in here, but it's not actually an expense that's reimbursed. It just says on the very last, down towards the end, that councillor shall insure personal vehicle insurance includes business travel for a minimum liability of $2 million. And that financial burden is put directly on us with no remuneration. So I just point that out as something, if you wanted to say there should be a reimbursement for that amount for those people who wouldn't normally carry it, that would be totally legitimate. So I throw that out there strictly for the Gary Rabs who are on fixed incomes. Oh, poor Rab. It's hard to find a game of golf. Rab, what do you think of that?
The Gary Rob is quite fine with not getting that. I have a $2 million coverage in my vehicle. I have had for a long time. So
there you go.
I never even saw it because that's what I have. So right I'm good with it, even though I am in a fixed income.
Right on. Councillor Holiday.
Yeah, I think it's good that you bring it up. I noticed that too, and I was thinking maybe when we do when training happens for the new council to make sure that gets highlighted. So
yeah, I think so too. Okay, doesn't seem to be. Oh, Waring, go ahead.
I've got 2 million. I needed it for work, so it's no problem. I don't need to be paid for it.
There you go. So there you go. So we're all
Because it'll only be for 3 days now.
right off. Oh, okay. All right. Then can I get a motion if no one wants to make any additions or changes or give themselves pay grade upgrades? Then we're good. Gonna go ahead, Rab?
I'll give you the motion, but I like Councillor Waring's thought about, you go with Mayor Crane's salary is 1,692.81 and councillors are 10,58.12. Maybe we go like 1,693 or 1,695 and 1060 or something like that, just to make them nice numbers. I think that's what Councillor Waring suggests. I think is a good one. Just a small minor change.
Corinne, will that send absolute shockwaves through the organization if we do that?
Through the mayor? No. No, it will not.
Even if you just rounded it up, Miss Middleton, to
How high can we go before we get a shockwave?
Rounding is, cents. Rounding is cents. It's not too many dollars.
Yeah,
That's right.
I'm fine with the amount that I'm just rounding it up so it makes sense rather than 1058.12.
Yeah, absolutely. We can round it up.
Okay. Put it in the motion, Rab, and send her home.
So I'd like to make a motion to adopt this with minor changes to honorariums to round them up. Make them even numbers.
Okay. Sounds good.
So I get reelected, I want that extra 18 cents. I think that would make a quite big difference.
Hey, Gary, you want it retroactive?
What's that?
You want it retroactive for 3 years?
You guys are going to drive Lana to drink.
I think she's already started.
Okay. All in favor of the motion? Hands high. I'm scrolling, and that is carried. Thank you. All righty. Let me back up here. Yeah, bingo. Moving on. We have old business. Oh, no, we have 15.4. Nope, that's 13. Okay, good. We're still on schedule. 14.1, municipal curbside recycling and organic pickup. Mr. Patience, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this, of course, this conversation is going on long before I got to Turner Valley. The conversation regarding curbside recycling, and I know organics has been discussed in the past as well, not necessarily in the last couple of months. However, a directive that came out of the last JFAC meeting was to direct administration to develop joint RFDs to go back to council for their first meeting in October that would be representative of curbside and organic front door pickup, curbside recycling and organic pickup programs. So I tasked Mr. Beaton and Ms. Middleton with coming up with a baser RFD that we shared back and forth with our counterparts in Black Diamond. And while we had little time to do it, and I will be the first to say, I did not think we were going to be able to achieve this in that short time frame. So I want to thank Craig and Corinne personally, and Charlene Brown and her staff on the other side for actually making this happen. So while there is some slight wording adjustments in our RFDs, the crux of the program and the costing of the program came across identical on both RFDs. So we were asked to bring this to you for consideration. And I have both Craig and Corinne here to answer any questions that you may have in regards to this particular proposal.
Okay, thank you. I am scrolling. I'm going to go to Rab first.
Thank you, and thanks, Sean and the rest of you for getting this done in such a short order. One thing that I did see on Facebook the last day or two, and I kind of agree with, is that these big bins may not be the best for small families. And I think if you had a family of 5 or 6, that would make sense to have a big bin. But Is there any possibility of buying smaller bins? Is there any possibility of pick up the smaller bins? I know you're trying to get this done in 2 weeks or 10 days, I think it was more like. So is that even a thought, or is that a possibility down the road that we could have different size bins? I guess that's my question, because, 3 big bins does take up a lot of space in a yard. You got to have a acreage just about to put them on. So a realistic question, I think.
Okay. Go ahead. Sean, whoever wants to field that. Craig, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I would probably lean on Craig for the response to this. There are obviously a variety of methodologies at play here, but Craig, perhaps you'd want to shine some light on that. I know we did have this conversation, so.
Yeah, so there's a few responses or a few ways to manage that. To reduce the complexity of bin sizes for different residents, and to expedite the curbside program, we didn't really consider smaller sizes. The program wouldn't really be cost prohibitive, or it wouldn't really costing variance in the smaller to the larger is very small. And the operational downtick to having a smaller bin is with the arm that grapples the bin to pull it up. Once the bin gets below a certain size, the arms have a harder time picking them up, and quite often they get damaged more easily because they'll slip through the tongs and either hit the ground, or they slip to the bottom or the top of the lid and cause damages. So it's something we could look at implementing, but for simplicity and to keep our costs pretty straightforward, we just considered the bins.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Waring?
In this request for the 1,300 bins, this is over and above the recent one we approved for bins for the 100,000, I'm taking it. So this would be the bins for the organics. Is that correct?
Correct.
I can tell you from the point of view of living in a condominium that we have a bylaw that says we are not allowed to leave bins outside at the front of our building. So realistically, all our bins have to be either placed in the garage, which is not possible for everybody, or they have to be at the rear or the side of the premises, which is also a problem unless you've got a concrete path going around, which most of them don't have. I know this is going to be a concern, so I'm just throwing it out there now, because I did like the idea of the smaller bins. The other thing I'm thinking along the lines of, is there any way that one of the bins could be interchangeable? So if we were having a program whereby garbage was picked up every other week, say, on the alternate week you could use your garbage bin for recycle. Having said that, I'm just realizing you can't, so it would be even a problem where you put your garbage when you put your recycle in the bin. But it's going to cause a lot of problems for some people having 3 bins.
Okay. Just scroll here. Yeah, your condo board might want to have a meeting specific, and if they want the town to contribute some information for the discussion, just send an email and let administration know, John, and that might be able to be worked out. Lana, go ahead. And Wilkie.
Councillor Holiday's first. I'll go after Councillor Holiday.
Okay, Holiday, Hamilton, Wilkie. Go ahead.
Thanks, Councillor Hamilton. I'm just wondering, do we have, I don't see in RT what size the organic bin is. So is it the same size as our current our current garbage that looks like a recycling bin? Are these all 3 identical? Can I get that confirmed?
Currently, that was the philosophy, was with organic bins, just having a larger volume for the seasonal transitions, as well as the operational simplicity. That was recommended by Okotoks. Now, again, that doesn't mean that we can't consider a different option and go with a smaller size bin, but for simplicity, it was the 240 liter bin that we implemented into the costing.
Okay. Thank you. Hamilton, you're up.
Part of my comments had to do with Councillor Holidays. I think that it would take me probably a month or two to fill up an organics bin. And the size of that, I don't know. And then I think, well, maybe we just want to pick up monthly, but if we let it go a whole month without getting picked up, the smell would probably just be horrific. So I think we should talk about the size of that organic bin for sure. And I'm wondering too if we, it could have just slipped my mind, but I don't think that we had a public consultation piece on this. And I'm wondering maybe if we missed an opportunity to do that, to find out where the demand is from the residents. I know there's definitely a demand for recycle. Most people on my block use private recycle companies to get their recycling picked up. But I'm wondering if we should do even just like a survey monkey, just to see what kind of demand there is. So that was my second comment. And then my third comment is just wondering on the comparison. I'm not sure if I'm reading the table right, to find out what the comparison would be for the 3 pickups monthly versus what we're paying now, like what the increase would be to resident monthly.
Corinne, maybe I could have you kind of go through that portion if you would.
So if I can, and thank you to address the question through the mayor. If you look at the table, so there's a couple of components and we've priced out each of the services separately. So what we have now with garbage, we're paying currently $14 per month. That is actually going to decline because we no longer really have to fund a garbage truck. And I think we talked about this in the budget last year, that we will end up with a surplus because of the fact that we're no longer having to fund that. So the service of garbage pickup would decline by $2. Then we have the recycle pickup, which currently we're paying $6 a month for the residential component. And there's a component for commercial, which is $8. And that particular service is going to go up, but not tremendously, just to $6.25 for residential per month. And then the organics, which is the brand new service, which we currently don't have a fee for because, of course, it's not currently being offered by the town. So that is the biggest one where we'll see that one go up to $7.10 per month. So that's currently how the structure of the table works. So what I tried to do was, instead of putting it all together as one solid waste fee, I tried to provide the different components so that we can look at it either collectively or we can look at it independently as to what those services will cost. I hope that answered your question, Councillor Hamilton.
So it kind of did. So am I understanding correctly that we will be charging $28.35 monthly for garbage, recycle, and organics collection?
Correct.
So that's $28.35 a month versus what we're currently charging, which is $20.08.
$20, because there's a bit of rounding with the commercial component there.
Okay, so bringing all 3 services online will be an increase to the residents of $8.35, not including cost of bins.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Keeping in mind, though, that we have built in a cost of bins on a go-forward basis. So we will provide the one-time funding for those particular bins, and then after that, there'll be a bin charge that's going to be included as part of the monthly solid waste charge. And what that will allow us is, we expect that the bins will have anywhere between a 7 to 10 year life. And so it allows us to accumulate a little bit of a reserve to fund any of those bins that get broken, get destroyed, and don't last through to the 7 years. So it's not 100% of a funding model, but it allow us to fund some of the bins. And then on a go-forward basis, if an individual resident needs a bin, they just phone and we would provide that bin as part of the service.
Thank you so much, Corinne.
Yeah, and if I might, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to expand on that just a little bit. That 2835 does not include the current recycle center. So you will note that there's an expense on there that is not carried over to the right-hand column. And so the disposition, the future determination of the recycling center will have an influence depending on how council or councils decide to deal with that. And one of the challenges we had here with doing a joint RFD, and I know council's well aware of this, is that previously we had charged for those bins up front, a charge of $90, where Black Diamond did not charge for those bins. So there had to be a number of compromises made to be able to facilitate a joint RFD in its case. And that was the challenge that we faced in trying to put this together this quickly, was both councils are going to have to do a little push me, pull you to make this work, because we're really changing strides from both sides of the river here to ensure that as we move forward, we're working off the same platform with the same costing formulas. So they're not used to paying for their bins. They're paid out of reserves. Our residents are used to paying for it up front. So this is a formulation that is a compromise from both perspectives. And we would then, if this is implemented, obviously we would nullify that per bin charge that we're currently charging out to our clients.
Excellent. Before I go, I've got Wilkie, Gordon, and Holiday, but I saw Craig wanted to comment on the in-between, so I'm just going to see if Craig, did you want to comment, or did Sean clue yours off?
No, thank you. And I just wanted to partially answer the first part of Councillor Hamilton's question or query. Although we didn't do a public engagement or forum with the bins and sizes, we did perform a waste audit this spring on all the, on a large number of residents. And it was determined that sorry, I'm off the top of my head, it was around 46% was organic waste for Turner Valley. So with that kind of volume, I believe a 240 bin would probably suit many residences. But and I can share that study with anyone that's interested. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you. I also have Waring's hand up as well. So we're going to stay in file, though. We're going to go Wilkie, Gordon, Holiday, Waring. Okay, go ahead.
Thanks. When I look at the recycle and garbage portion of this, it just makes me wonder why we didn't do this 4 years ago. But anyway, that is behind us. I'm thrilled to see that moving forward. I do have some concerns around the organic sizing as well. But one of the things I appreciate about this RFD is that it's written in a way that it directs administration to work with the town of Okotoks and Black Diamond to create an implementation plan for curbside recycling and organics program, which to me leaves some flexibility there to discuss what that implementation might potentially look like. If I'm reading correctly, it sort of says to me that maybe we aren't locked in on the 240 bins yet. I would love to have a little bit of discussion around that, because most communities, I think, that do this tend to have one smaller bin. I don't know which one it is. I've seen a lot of places do a smaller garbage bin. I don't know how supportive people would be of that. But I do like that there's flexibility available there to discuss it. I am happy to move forward with this, but I did want to make sure that there is still flexibility. There's a lot of T's to be crossed and I's to be dotted in this process with Black Diamond still. Is that a correct characterization?
Not far off. Okay. Thank you, Wilkie. Going to Gordon.
Yeah, thank you so much for putting this together. And just to kind of pile on a little bit on the smaller size for organics, where we lived in Ontario, that's exactly what we had. We had two different sizes for recycling and garbage pickup, and then a smaller one for organics as well. But it's knowing that there's an option to look into that moving forward is great. The question I do have, though, is maybe it's out of the scope of this discussion, but if looking ahead, we get all of these three in place, that makes our recycling center redundant, but we do appreciate some revenue right now from the recycling center, correct? So do we know what those numbers might look like as far as what then we would have to replace from a revenue side? I don't know, administration, if you have those numbers handy.
I think probably what we'd like to do is do a review of the recycling center, options on disposition, that kind of a thing. Corinne, do you have any numbers maybe at your avail?
Well, to address your question through the mayor, thank you, CAO Sean. So, Deputy Mayor Gordon, we currently receive anywhere, we would receive about $40,000 or just over $40,000 from Black Diamond and the county. So how we have operated the facility is we did decrease the hours, but we had left the amount that we charge to residents the same. So we would recognize a small amount of bottom line revenue from the operation of the facility. And it's not huge. It would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $30,000 that we would recognize. So having said that, that is revenue that would technically be lost, but we would have to, if we could determine another option to use the recycle depot, it may allow us to continue to recoup some revenue depending on what the option might look like.
Okay, so just a quick follow-up. We would be looking at a net loss potentially.
Yeah, potentially if Black Diamond decides that they go with a recycle program, then obviously there would be some negotiations around how we would operate it. If they have a recycle program and we have a curbside recycle program, we would have to review who would absorb the cost of maintaining that facility.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Holiday, you're up. And then Waring.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, comments, but first I'm just wondering about the tipping fees and where they are in these numbers.
Okay, I'd say Beaton's probably got one on that one. Beaton or Corinne? Beaton?
They're absorbed into the utility fee. So the fee of $6.25 includes the tipping fee, as does the $7 and change for waste and so on. So it's all included in that fee.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I just wanted to confirm. I like the greater flexibility that the bigger bins give us, even on organics, summertime yard waste takes up a lot of space. So I'm actually kind of in favor, but I do wonder about condos and whether there is something that we can do separately for condos, especially if they have within their association, yard maintenance companies that come in, so they really don't need it. So I don't know if I would look at doing it often or give everybody a choice, or if we just treat some of, our condos differently. I'm not sure if that's an option. And I did just, I know Jamie mentioned that he wondered why we didn't do this 4 years ago. And it's come up on Facebook why we're talking about, where did this come from and why are we deciding this now? some people are just hearing it for the first time. But you have to remember, we had the GHG study that was just underway when I came on 4 years ago. So even though we all wanted to jump into recycling, we were waiting for that study to get completed by the Landfill Commission. And then once we had that, we had a lot of, the push on getting our garbage, our waste management regionalized. Because as we found out, we're a couple of dollars a month more efficient because we're not running our own trucks and we're not having to run our own spare. So we had to wait for that pilot project to get finished. And now we're here. So, even though it's something that all 7 of us have agreed on from a get-go, and it's frustrating that, that it feels like we're just now having to do this down at the last minute before the election. There's been a lot of work put in on this. And I just wanted to point out kind of some of the background for people that might come back and watch this that are wondering in the public, where did this come from? It's been in the works for well over 4 years and lots of studies going on. So just wanted to bring that up as to why we're where we are right now.
Thank you, Councillor Holladay. And isn't that the truth? I'm sure you'll hear from Waring shortly all about how long it's taken. And with that being said, Councillor Waring, you are up.
Well, as Mayor Crane will confirm, we've been talking about this since 2015, so it's a little bit longer than 4 years, but I'm glad to see it happening now. Just for clarification, I do apologise if I'm asking the bleeding obvious, but the actual cost of the bins is included in the monthly numbers that we have here. Is that correct?
Yeah, if I might, Mr. Mayor. So yes, we've included a $1 a month charge per bin to be utilized for replacement and repairs of the bin. So you'll see a $3 fee at the very bottom on the right-hand side of that solid waste program spreadsheet. Mm-hmm. So it would need to be funded out of operational reserves, and that reserve would need to be replenished through that fee.
Okay, because there was so much talk about buying the bins and everything else, and I just wanted to be sure that we were 100% clear that that monthly fee is included to replace the bins, and that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, because that was really going to be my only comment was let's not take from reserve, but let's just purchase them and roll that onto the tax bill, line item it, and be done. But if it'll be a 3-year replacement window, and then it'll just constantly be building from there for replacement every 10 years, I believe was the number we heard before. Plus, this program has replacement system for repairs and maintenance and so on that's ongoing. That's part of the deal. So I'm comfortable with all this. As everyone else has said, it's taken a long time. I'm more than happy to vote in favor of this. So can I have Wilkie make a comment?
Yeah, it's just a question, I guess, and just to clarify on the 4 years, not to say that the work hasn't been done. I know that it takes time to get the studies and all that stuff put in. It's just when you look at the numbers side by side, it just makes you wish that this was an easier decision than it might have been, right? So totally recognize that. My question is just regarding the actual recycling reporting that we would get back. And so that's always been a big concern for me, is just, one of the big issues with our recycle center was that we were unable to find markets for many of the types of plastic that we were generating, or at least markets that were willing to give us anything for them. Will we get sort of ongoing reporting from Okotoks on ultimately where those materials are ending up on the recycling side of things? Because to me, that's a big part of this, is that I want to be sure that we're doing this for the right reason, which is actually diverting material from landfills and not just to, send it to a different facility where that then gets rerouted to landfill again, which was what was happening to plastic for a period of time there. So just curious, if there been any discussion with Okotoks on potentially what the reporting would look like and how aware we would be of where things are ultimately ending up.
Yes, Councillor Wilkie, I can answer that. So we currently, with our waste program on a quarterly basis, receive, we meet on a quarterly basis and we get, we do a report, not just on the volume of materials, but, you know, customer concerns, any operational concerns, so on and so forth. We would likely, or we would continue that with Okotoks in receiving volume of materials, which market or which vendor they're being, which is purchasing our materials, or which MRF they're going to, and the type of plastics that we will be receiving will be sorted and sold to the appropriate markets. So yes, we will receive regular updates on that material, and that's also for operational excellence, just so we know that we're collecting the materials appropriately, making sure that the program that's being offered is the right program, or if we need to make adjustments, and so on and so forth.
And sorry, if I might, just one follow up to that. I had mentioned this by email, just, you know, any agreement that we enter into, is there been any discussion with the ultimate service provider on what termination provisions might look like under an agreement like that, should the municipality decide, you know, there's alternative options, different road to go on? I just always like to know how a person gets out of an agreement like this at some point in the future. So has there been any discussion of that, or is that all to be negotiated?
It would likely be a similar service agreement that we currently have with Okotoks. And if I recall, it's a 6-month termination agreement, and it would be very similar.
Okay. We're not locked in for 5 years. That's what I like to hear. So thank you.
Yeah, it's currently 3 years with options, and yeah, so we would probably do something very similar.
Okay, thank you. I got Waring to finish us off.
Under our old system at the moment, we get income from the recycle that we sell. I'm assuming that the recycle that Okotoks is now collecting from us, that they sell, that income will not be coming back to Turner Valley, but going into their system. So I'm just wondering how we handle that if they start making huge profits or big losses.
I can answer that if I will. So there are no profits made from curbside recycle. Curbside recycle all goes into a MRF, and the MRF sorts it, and the MRF actually collects that revenue for, and that's their cost recovery in sorting the materials, baling it, and sending it to market. Typically where you see revenues is in the eco centers or recycle centers, because we personally sort, bale, and ship to market. Does that answer?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Thank you. It's a question that somebody might bring to me, and it's good to know the right answer. Thank you.
Okay. Can someone please give me a motion to get this baby rolling down the street? Get it? Carts rolling? I'm looking for a motion here.
Mr. Mayor, we have provided an administrative recommendation on the last page of that RFD. So,
indeed,
yeah, it looks like there's separate motions. Am I right on this, Sean?
There's two.
You want it 4 different? No, there's 2 different options, but within option 1, it looks like there's 4 different motions that need to be made on this. Or did you just want it all? It's a very long one.
You go to option 1 will encompass them all, but we can read it all for sure.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if they wanted it separate or not.
Yeah,
admin?
that's fine. Yeah, that would be fine.
Just separate them? Okay, so I'll go with,
Just do them all at once.
oh, just do them all at once?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with option 1, that council direct administration to proceed with the purchase of 1,300 bins for organics at a cost of $100,000, includes freight and delivery to be funded through operational reserves. And that council direct administration to work with the towns of Okotoks and Black Diamond to create an implementation plan for a curbside recycling and organics program. And that council direct administration to review bylaw number 15-1042, waste management, prior to implementation of a curbside recycling and organics program. And that council direct administration to provide options for the oil fields recycle center prior to implementation of a curbside recycling and organics program.
Perfect. Discussion. I think we've voiced all our concerns. I'll go to Rab.
Yeah, the only thing I have to say is if we accept option 1, which we just got the motion to do, that means we're committed to buying 1,300 big bins. What if there's another option in terms of smaller bins? Is that something we could accept the motion and still explore? Like it says, we're still continuing to work with Black Diamond and Okotoks. I understand, Craig, when you talk about the size of the grapple hooks or the whatever you use to pick the bin up, and that does make perfect sense. But storage is still an issue for, especially people that may be single or a couple of people in a house. So, I'm in favor of moving this curbside. I'm just saying if we buy the bins, that means we're committed to the big bins. And maybe that's not the perfect fit. So, I don't know. How do we deal with that? Accept the motion and then do some exploring and always make a change, always make a revision to it? That's something we can do. Because I support the idea of moving on. Like let's do it. But I also hear people when they say maybe too big. Councillor Hull, on the other hand, says in the summertime when you have garden waste and stuff like that, maybe it's too small. So how do you cover all bases?
I would say it's been working for Okotoks, and they've had it in place for quite a while. So I think we're good to go with what's been presented myself. Let's go with the ergonomic sized bins right now. And if down the road things want to change, then that's something that can be dealt with as we see changes happening. So, but I like where we're going. I like the numbers. I like the financial breakdown. I love the fact that we could get to curbside once and for all. So, Cindy, go ahead.
Yeah, Okotoks does actually provide options on bin sizes, and then they charge residents $25 every time that they want to switch it out to a different size bin. So if you move there, don't like your bin size, I think that's what it looks like online. I wouldn't mind putting in an option that administration further explore people living in multifamily or condominium type situations to see if adjustments need to be made on a case-by-case basis. If just in case Black Diamond also came up, they have, I think, a wider variety of housing than we do, so it might have come up on their side as well. I don't know if anyone's interested in a extra motion on that. I'd be happy to add it.
Craig, do you think that the portion of the motion that says work with Okotoks and Black Diamond to create an implementation plan would allow us to cover off that possibility?
I believe so. Okotoks has a pretty comprehensive program, and Paul with Okotoks is the pro, and he knows. So yeah, we can certainly work with something like that.
Okay.
Okay, so I think you're good, Holiday, on that one. I think that'll get covered by admin. Rab?
And that's not a problem, Craig, for the first part of that motion where it says we're going to buy 1,300 bins. Could that be the start 1,300 bins after you negotiate with Okotoks about possible bin sizes? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I think we can work with that. I think 1,300 bins doesn't have to be 240 liter. They could be, 1,000 240 and then another 300. So yeah, I think we can work this up.
Okay, that sounds good. And I hope it's not just for multifamily dwellings, but even for for single person families and stuff like that, where they're in a house with one person where they don't generate a lot. So I like that. I like some options. That'd be awesome.
Okay. All in favor of the motion? Hands up. I see Waring slowly getting there. And that is a unanimous decision. Thank you. Woohoo! Great discussion. Thanks for all your points on that. Thanks for administration doing all that work. Look forward to seeing more and hearing more in the future. Moving on.
Mr. Mayor, if I might.
You may.
I believe we can probably let Mr. Beaton and Mr. Beltran go and
absolutely,
and enjoy the rest of their evening.
Yeah, thanks guys for tuning in, and we'll see you later.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Jens.
Miss Middleton does not get that luxury, however.
Yeah, but we're going to be real nice to her.
Can I save Miss Middleton a bunch of headache and just make a motion? We talked
yes,
about
you can.
Yeah, I was going to recommend that, Jamie. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, if we're moving on to that point in the discussion, just for anybody who is watching, we did discuss this at the Finance Committee, and you can review our discussion there. But I'd make a motion that Council accept the August 2021 year-to-date financial report as information as recommended by the Finance Advisory Committee.
Excellent. Thank you. And I am scrolling now. I think everyone was quite happy with that meeting and the document. If not, raise your hand and speak now. If not, I will count down from 3 and I will call for the vote. Scrolling. Seeing none. All in favor of the motion? Thank you, and that is carried. Ms. Middleton, thank you again for all the work with the Finance Committee on that and getting all the detailed work. As you can see in the agenda package, it's all there, and it's fantastic.
Thank you.
All right.
And I'll make the motion for the ATCO franchise fee.
All righty.
And following up to Councillor Wilkie, this was discussed at our recent Finance and Advisory Committee meeting. So motion regarding our ATCO franchise fee is as follows. That Council approve the Finance Advisory Committee recommendation of no change to the ATCO franchise fee of 15% for 2022.
Excellent. Thank you. And Councillor Holiday, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm fine with the motion, but we did ask for some extra information on that rider B, that 4.3%.
Okay, right on. Lana was going to have the same question. So, Mr. Patience or Miss Middleton, as you are.
Yeah, so we did discuss this, and Corinne delved into it a little bit. I'll let her explain it, but it's a fairly simple answer that breeds some additional questions, I think. But Corinne, I'll allow you to do that.
Thank you, CAO Patience. So to address your question through the mayor. So interestingly enough, Councillor Holiday, we talked about this a year ago as well. So, and once again, of course, a year goes by and, we kind of forget. So what this represents is Black Diamond and Turner Valley, the way we do the ATCO linear property tax is fundamentally different. So we charge ATCO, and Black Diamond does not. And so what happens with that is ATCO charges us again. So they ask for that money back. And so it ends up basically being a bit of a wash. So we would show that property tax revenue on our tax line. And then because we would charge them, and then what ends up happening is that charge ends up coming back. So they charge 4.3% basically, and so it keeps them whole on the calculation of the property tax. So then, and Black Diamond doesn't charge them at all. So that way they don't have a fee that has to be collected. It's a very interesting. It's interestingly enough, there's not an extensive amount of information on the rider, It's basically a one-line sentence, actually.
Interesting. It is something that needs to be looked at. That's just take it to give it. I don't know. Councillor Gordon or Hamilton? Go ahead, Hamilton. And then Wilkie.
Would now be the time to try to align ourselves with our neighbors and to not, do that Schedule B rider? Is it? I'm sure there's more to it than that. We'd have to change the way that we're charging for lineal assessments. But is that? This seems kind of silly. It's almost like a shell game, just moving this money around in a circle. Maybe is now the opportunity to fix that the way we're doing things.
I don't, CAO Patience, do you want to take that question or do you want me to take the question?
I'd love to take that question.
Okay. It might be an executive decision.
Well, we did discuss this a little bit, honestly. So it is a bit of a chicken and egg scenario, and I did say it was going to breed probably more questions. So I think we need to delve into this a little deeper, honestly, and look at options for that linear taxation before we go canceling this, because I do not want to be cut short on that potential revenue by being caught in between cycles of taxation and franchise fees. So I think when we discussed this at Finance, I suggested that we look to align this at the end of next year. And I would still stick to that stance to allow us to align both our taxation and our franchise fees so that we don't have a significant gap in revenue, because we certainly don't need that at this point either.
Okay, because the way it looks to me is like they're covering their own business tax. Just saying, give us the same amount that you're going to charge us, so we basically operate at zero.
You just discovered
Wilkie's up. Sorry, yeah.
I was going to say, Barry, you just discovered how utilities work. They just pass along all of their costs. So,
right.
No, it's. I agree that it has to be aligned, but I don't. There's a lot of things that have to be aligned, and I would rather. I don't have all of the implications in front of me of cutting that to zero right now, so I don't know that I feel comfortable making that decision tonight. I'm comfortable to leave as is until next year, but that would just be my suggestion.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, I'm fine leaving it alone, and it's part of negotiations moving forward if amalgamation happens. Looking okay. If we're all comfortable. Motion has been put out there by Councillor Gordon, I do believe. Scrolling back. All in favor? And all opposed? And I got Lana in for that one. Okay, thank you, Lana. Motion's carried, however. Okay.
I'll give you 40 if that speeds up the process.
Thank you.
Option 1, that Council approve the Finance Advisory Committee recommendation of no change to the Fortis franchise fee of 10% for 2022.
Excellent, thank you. And any comments, questions, concerns? Scrolling, seeing none. Again, this has already been vetted by the Finance Committee. All in favor? Hands up. There we go. All right, Lana's in on that one. Thank you. That's carried unanimously. Excellent. Okay. Almost there, guys. Town and Sundry, letter to the Minister of Municipal Affairs.
No, Jamie's 15.4.
Oh, see, I knew I'd forget it and you cut me. Good job wearing. All right, Wilkie, 15.4. Your notice of motion. Why don't you speak to it? And,
yeah, sure. What I might do, just because I know it didn't make the agenda package, is just read it out. I like to somewhat limit my whereases in this one. But what I am going to do, just to let you know where I'm headed with this, I am going to ask for council's approval to waive, potentially by 2/3 majority, the requirement for notice under our procedure bylaw to consider and vote on this motion in this meeting. So that's what I'll be asking for at the end of this. The only reason being, I really wanted to try and make this motion, and if it doesn't get through today, I won't get a chance to make it at the next meeting. So that's the only reason that I'm proposing it that way. So whereas the Council of the Town of Turner Valley recognizes the lasting cultural, spiritual, and physical damages caused by the legacy of the Indian residential school system in Canada between 1831 and 1998. Whereas the Council of the Town and Turner Valley recognizes that this impact is an ongoing legacy that impacts our First Nations, Métis, and Inuit neighbors in southern Alberta and more broadly across the country. Whereas we acknowledge the Treaty 7 territory, the traditional and ancestral territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Kainai, Piikani, Siksika, as well as the Tsuut'ina Nation and the Stoney Nakoda First Nation. Whereas we acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3, within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. Whereas we acknowledge that many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit who have lived and cared for these lands for generations and are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who have gone before us. Whereas we make this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation and gratitude towards those whose territory on which we reside. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Council directs administration to provide recommendations in the first quarter of 2022 for how to consider specific impacts of our First Nations to our First Nations, Métis, and Inuit neighbors of future council decisions. Specifically, such recommendations should include a framework so that future requests for decision documents presented to council will explicitly include a summary of relevant impact to such neighbors and any recommendations to engage with our neighbors on a government-to-government basis to mitigate or better understand the impact of such decisions when necessary. So thank you for indulging me on that. And I would just put it out for a vote before discussion on whether council is willing to consider that for discussion and vote tonight, waiving the notice of motion. So my motion would be that council waive the required notice to allow me to make this notice of motion.
Okay, so straight up for that one, council, all in favor of the waiving? And that is going to be carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, there you go, Councillor Wilkie. Now, you've already read it, obviously.
So I'll make that motion now, and then I'll just speak to it very briefly if I have a chance. The reason that this came up for me was my my son is in kindergarten, and he came home last week after doing some great programming at school just about some of the truth and reconciliation issues. And I'll be perfectly honest, it's an area that is I don't want to say blind spot for me, but I think it's an area that we don't necessarily recognize enough in my generation, in older generations, and it's something that I think needs to be done in the spirit of National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. I think that this is a good, positive first step forward. I don't want to create a huge framework. To be perfectly clear, what I'm looking for here is very similar to what we see in our request for decision, where there's a checkbox to say, is this something that we need to discuss with Black Diamond? I'd like to see a similar sort of checkbox that just says, have we considered these issues from a First Nations perspective? And what really brought this to mind for me was on our discussions over the new park on the south side of the river. Not that there was ever any malicious intent whatsoever. It was just an excellent opportunity, I think, where we could have engaged with our neighbors and tried to learn more and be better. And that's all I'm trying to do here is try to advance that and hope that it becomes an act of reconciliation and trying to move forward better together. So that's all. Thank you.
Councillor Waring. Thank you, Wilkie.
Yeah, thanks for bringing this forward, Jamie. It's a very interesting thing for us to work for in the future. The one thing I get a little bit confused on with these is to what degree. Because, for example, with the West End project, we can't put a shovel in the ground until we have gone through a form of interaction with, I think it was 3 different bands, and get comments and approval basically from them before we do anything. And any major project is dealt with that way. So I can understand with the park that has no name, as it's in an area where there's been a lot of activity in the past, that this should have been done before we even started working with the park, in my opinion, not now. We're late already. And it was the same with the golf course when West End put a new pipeline through the golf course. There's Indian remains, there's burial sites, there's buffalo jumps and everything else. So there is a recognizable way of doing what you want to do already in existence. And if we do have that checkbox, I think that will be fantastic, in that it will remind us before we do anything in future that we have gone through the right processes. So I fully support what you're trying to do. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Waring. Councillor Gordon, Deputy Mayor Gordon.
Yeah, I want to thank Councillor Wilkie for bringing this forward. It's been something that really has been on my heart for years, to be quite honest with you. Going through the Truth and Reconciliation, the calls to action, the responsibilities we have to recognize our First Nations and to support them. Reconciliation starts with having them involved in our current discussions, our current decisions, recognizing the historical element that they have here on land. And I really look forward to, perhaps even as a municipality, meeting the call to action number 43 in the call to action of the Truth and Reconciliation Council and Commission. And that calls upon the federal, provincial, territory, but also municipal governments to work within the framework of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples as the framework for reconciliation. So I'm looking forward to what role we get to play, and perhaps even being municipal leaders and working with our First Nations. So this is a motion I fully support, and I thank Councillor Wilkie for bringing it forward.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. Just scrolling here. Councillor Rabb, go ahead.
I totally support Councillor Wilkie's motion. I think it's an excellent one. And, maybe we are a little bit late, but we're never too late. We got to start wherever we're here. That's where we're starting. So, we call it Arrowhead Park, but when we first heard that name, we always said it could be changed. It was just a possibility of time. When I was a principal in Northern Lights, we used to have to, I didn't have to, but I went out to meet with the Kikino settlement band. It's not band, pardon me. It's the Kikino settlement council to talk about education for their kids and stuff like that. So it was really important. When I got down here, I don't think much about it because our reserves tend to be a little bit further away, but certainly Mayor Crane and I work there a little bit as well. It would be really good to get them involved. And I think that any way we can is a good thing. When they are our neighbors, our close neighbors of ours, we need to spend some time working on those relationships. And it was really a treat to go to the opening of the Ball Diamond and also to see our summer program when we had some dancers here. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was very good. I'll make a comment here, and then I'm going to call the question. Just a couple of things. I fully support this motion, Councillor Wilkie. As you guys know, I've worked out there in Eden Valley for the Stoney Nakoda Education Authority for over 8 years. One thing is very evident, and that is we definitely can have more cooperation, more involvement, more participation on several levels. There's no question. So I think this is a great motion to really set the stage to begin that engagement in a simple form of, is this relevant? Very important right there. Another thing that I wanted to point out was the Foothills School Division has done great things in a way of acknowledgement and participation with their First Nations, no matter where they are. They have different boundaries. But one of the things that they have done, and I think I'm bringing this up because I think it's something that we can look at that is very easily done, very cost effective, but its recognition is very paramount and obvious, would be the flagpoles. The Foothills School Division has got a separate flagpole now that runs the flag of the First Nations communities in which it operates. So if you go over to Oilfields, you'll see Stony Nakota's flag running on their flagpole. So I would be very interested in the next few months to look at a fourth flagpole that recognizes the First Nations of our area and putting their flag up alongside the Canadian, the town, and the province. I think it's an easy win, and it really, really starts to show that recognition. So it's something to consider for later. I just wanted to point out that Wendy Mulaner sent me a nice email about that, and she really thought that that was a great thing that I could bring forward to council. So I give credit to Wendy Mulaner for sending me that email and mentioning that. And then I absolutely went over to the school, and there it was. So that being said, if there's any other questions or concerns or comments, make them now. I'm going to scroll across, but I fully support this motion. And I'm seeing
just if I might close,
yeah, go ahead.
Eric Rain. Thank you all for first of all waiving that notice. I think this is an important thing to do, and second of all, for taking steps forward. I honestly think that that's what this is all about. It's about little things that we can do, and one thing that's come out of this focus on truth and reconciliation is I think it does force us to confront uncomfortable realities of our past, and that is, I think, a very important thing for us to move forward. So thank you all for your support.
And with that, I will say all in favor. And I'm seeing a unanimous vote there, Mr. Wilkie. So your final act almost as councillor has been a rewarding one. All right. Moving on in the agenda. Let me just scroll back here again. We're on to correspondence now, for sure.
Mr. Mayor, if I might.
You may.
I'm just going to allow Ms. Middleton to
bye-bye.
To be able to leave us, and thank her for her assistance and her efforts tonight. Much appreciated.
Absolutely. Thank you, Corinne.
Thanks, Corinne.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Night. Okay, we have Town of Sundre, letter to the Minister of Municipal Affairs on the Code of Conduct bylaw, and the Town of Sundre letter, RCMP, retroactive pay. Any comments on those, guys and gals? Looking, Rab, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to accept these as correspondence. Information only.
Thank you. Scrolling. Any comments? Cindy, seeing none. Scrolling again, seeing none. Cindy, go ahead.
Yeah, just one thing about the Sundre one and the removing the council code of conduct bylaw requirement. Is that really a thing? Like, I hadn't heard of it. Or is it, like, I'm just wondering where this came from, because I thought that requirement was a fairly new requirement. So to take it out seems kind of silly, and you would think the provincial government would have better things to do. So I'm just not sure where this came from, but fine to accept it as information.
Yeah, just to maybe add something. I don't know that we've seen anything on this, so I share Councillor Holliday's sentiment. So if there's something going on out there, I haven't been made aware of it yet, but yeah, just leave it right there.
Yeah. Go ahead, Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting point. I was going to actually mention that as well, because that would require a change to the MGA, and that would be a discussion that I'm sure we should be aware of prior. So it kind of caught me off guard.
Sounds like they're covering their bases to me. It doesn't sound like there's anything in the works, but they're basically preemptive at saying if there's going to be any changes, we want to know. that there's consultation held first. So I can't see him removing code of conduct. It's the only thing that makes sense. Anyway, Sean got that joke late. He did.
That being said, actually, Mayor Crane, if the MGA were to remove it as a requirement, we have the code of conduct as a bylaw, do we not? So our council can maintain it either way. So and we will.
Yeah, like they say in the letter, it's a great source of guidance and professionalism. So easy, low-hanging fruit, guys. All in favor? Thank you. And that is carried. Correspondence is done. Let me see here. And we have the minutes for the MPC.
Nope. You have one.
Oh, DARE, action required. Yes. Funding, $2,371 for the DARE program. So I'm obviously in favor of this, and I wouldn't mind attending the Zoom meeting as well as representative for our community, which is what they have asked for here. So I'm totally fine doing both of those, but I open it to council for a motion. Sean, you want to speak to it first?
Yeah, if I might a little bit, I actually had the opportunity to speak to Miss LeBlanc this afternoon. Not this afternoon only, but Thursday as well, about this. And she has provided a little bit of information saying that in 2018, we sponsored for 1,107, and in 2017, we sponsored for 1,055. And she is recommending, and I'm concurring with her recommendation, that we put this back into our community services director's realm and allow her to prepare a report and a potential RFD for council consideration.
Okay, what is the clock ticking on this one? Because this is the 4th, and this is asking for the 2nd of November, is to attend the AGM. When does the DARE program start would be my question at the school.
You know, that I don't have the answer, Mr. Mayor.
So she'd figure that out, I guess.
Yeah, and there's also reference in the letter to what implications COVID may impact. So I would support accepting this as information and direct administration to prepare an RFD for us to review in our November council meeting.
Okay, thank you. I'll take that motion. Any comments? We'll bring it in front of us. Sounds good. All in favor? And that is scrolling carried. Thank you. All right. We're almost there, Councillor Hamilton, Councillor Wilkie. No tears, okay? No tears.
I'm just disappointed that it's taken this long for the song to start.
Minutes for MPC. I'll make the motion we adopt the minutes for MPC as I attended that meeting. It was great. It was very fun. Any questions? Seeing none. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. And we hopefully will have a special council meeting to address that last item. Cindy, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I just had one ask for administration, seeing as this is our last meeting. The next meeting with the new council, can we include a motion tracker? We used to have that quarterly, a kind of a list of what motions were in works, what have been completed. And it's really helpful to see to catch up, I guess. So just wondering if that would be possible to add.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah, we've actually already got that kind of in the works internally. So what we'd like to do is provide you with, and you can call it a motion tracker or an action list. It's just a reference to council motions and actions and where they are in process, have they been completed, etc. So yeah, We're already on that. Good call.
Perfect.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Councillor Holiday. Again, guys, all the best of luck on the campaign trail. And this is it. We're signing off. Councillor Gordon, you wanted to say something though? And Waring.
I just want to thank Councillor Hamilton and Councillor Wilkie for what you've added to our council. I'm going to miss you personally, should I be reelected. It's been such a joy to have you. I love our council, and I do mean that. The respect we show each other, the element of debate and discussion that we bring, and the support we have for one another is been a really blessing to be part of. And thank you, Councillor Wilkie and Councillor Hamilton, for being part of that.
Absolutely. I'm going to Waring and Rab.
Yeah, get comfortable. I'm going to make a speech. I'd like to say personally how much I've enjoyed the last 4 years of this council, and I appreciate what every one of you brings to it. Whether one is there again in November or not, I don't know yet. But it certainly, if this is my last council, it's been a good one to go out on. And if I'm lucky enough to get in again, I hope we have such a good team to lead us into amalgamation. Thank everybody, not just the two miserable buggers that are not standing again. And, all the best to everyone.
Shocking. Go ahead, Ralph.
I'd like to echo what Councillor Gordon had to say, or Deputy Mayor Gordon, because I couldn't say what Councillor Waring said, I don't think. But I personally miss both of you. You've been just a tremendous delight to work with. Lana, we had lots of good laughs on the end of the table there over the time, and I enjoyed that. Wilkie and Lana, both of you bring so much intelligence and skills of debating and good comments and common sense. Just a thrill to work with you. And I would say that of all the rest of you as well. It's been a treat to work in this council. It's been a lot of fun. I've learned a lot. I thought I was too old to learn, but no, I still got lots more to learn. I know that, and I always say that. But I wish all the rest of my council that are running all the best in the elections and good luck. And we'll see you Wednesday night. And thank you, Councillor Wilkie. You didn't have to do this here, but it sure is a treat that you do it, because this is the only chance we have to meet in a public forum. And that's credit to Councillor Wilkie. So that's very much appreciated. So it's been a slice, you guys. Take care. Thank you.
Excellent. Let me just see if Cindy wanted. Yeah, there you go, Cindy.
Yeah, I had that split second thought. I'm like, oh, I should say something to Donna and Jamie as well. But then I'm like, I've already interrupted the meeting and I feel bad. But thank you for giving us this time. I don't know what the mayor is going to call me in the next, if I get in again, if you're not there, Lana. So we'll see. But I'm sure going to miss you. Jamie, thank you for all you do and still being active. I have no doubts that you're going to continue being involved in many different ways. And I totally, while I don't like your decisions to not run, I totally support it and get it. It's a huge commitment. We all know it. We've done a lot together. We've been super successful, I believe, as a council, and really changed the environment. And we couldn't have done it without a great administrative team behind us too. So thank you to them as well. And hopefully we'll see you all on the other side.
Fingers crossed. Councillor Gordon?
You mean Wilkie?
Oh, Wilkie, has he got his mic off?
I was no. All I was going to say is it's been an honor. All of you are fantastic to work with. I went into this only a couple of years ago with a discussion with my wife on how we were going to manage this with a young family and a day job, and we came to the agreement that my time on council would be viewed as my personal time when we looked at our allocation of time around the household, and as much as I have thoroughly enjoyed this personal time, and I'm not kidding about that, I am looking forward to maybe taking up a hobby like having a beer on a Monday night or something. So it's been an honor to work with all of you, and you haven't seen the last of me. I'm going to be a real irritant going forward. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, Wilkie. Lana, go ahead.
Well, I guess I have to say something now because all of these counselors were so warm and fuzzy. I don't know what all this positivity and, love is tonight. It's weird. I'm just teasing. I'm really going to miss all of you. I had so much fun over the last 4 years. I really enjoyed it. I'm not running because I didn't like it. I'm running because there aren't enough hours in a day, or I'm not running because there aren't enough hours in the day. So working with this team, including the administration, has just been awesome. And you all have my support going forward. And I'll be rooting for each and every one of you come election time. So thanks, guys.
Awesome. Well, I can't wrap this up any better than what every counselor just said, guys. It's been a slice to work with every one of you for sure. And I look forward to the next chapter. So I think we can put a gold stamp on this term and hold our heads high on what we achieved all the way along. So with that, let us adjourn our last COVID Zoom meeting of a regular business. There you go. All right, guys.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks very much, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
All right.
Does that mean I don't have to do any other council commitments anymore, or do I still have my other committees until the 16th?
You got a couple of days left.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll be okay.
You get to that. You get